Hello, and welcome to episode 14 of United, a podcast for change. I am Lori, your host. And on tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about all things Trump, Donald J., former president, and just how, in my opinion, he is not worthy of bearing that title. The title of President of the United States, it's an honor, it is a privilege, and he is simply not worthy of it. Do I hate Trump? No. Do I have Trump derangement syndrome? No. I have never been one to jump in on the FJB, F Trump train. It's one thing to disagree with policy or a president's actions, inactions. Attacking fellow citizens, it's just not something that I do. Because why? We all are allowed to have our own beliefs. We all have the right to vote for whomever we want to vote for, support who we want to support. The best that we can do when we have differences or, disagreements on policy, different topics, is civil discussion. So I want to welcome everyone that tunes in, whether it's live or on the replay. And I know that this is a touchy subject tonight. So I would just like to put it out there that we're here to treat each other with respect. Name calling, cussing each other out, that doesn't solve anything. It doesn't add anything to a conversation. If you feel passionately about Trump, that's okay. I'm not here to make fun of anyone for having different beliefs, different, political preferences. That's not what tonight is about. You're not going to hear me cuss about Trump or call him names. I try as hard as I possibly can to take out the spin, to not speak with bias. I try. There are some topics where, that I do feel strongly about, and I will express my opinion. Doesn't mean that I'm right. And I recognize that, just because I believe something, I might not be right. I might not be on, the correct side. And I'm here to learn. So I do ask that everyone, just treat each other respectfully. Treat each other how you would like to be treated. If you don't want to be cussed out or name called, then please don't do that to anyone else. The reason why I picked this topic for this week's main episode is primarily because of the classified documents case that's going on. Because, all the reporting that I'm seeing is that, there could very well be a grand jury indictment or multiple indictments coming at some point this week. That being said, it's Tuesday. We only have 3 days left in the week. So whether that happens, it might not happen. The grand jury could come back and decide not to issue any indictments. That is still a possibility. I'm not sitting here like, oh, indictments. It's 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 not good for a former president to be indicted on anything. That's not a good look. From the standpoint that, a president, current or former, shouldn't do anything to be indicted on. The president of the United States, that is the highest office in our country. And the person sitting in that chair behind that desk should represent the best of us. I mean, and no president is perfect. No human being is perfect. We are all perfectly imperfect. But to have someone in that chair, I have to stop saying, I just realized how much I'm saying that. But to have someone in that chair that doesn't appreciate it, it's not a good look. If Trump is indicted, because he could be indicted for like willfully retaining the documents. Presidents aren't allowed to just keep documents generated during their term. They're not. That's why we have the Presidential Records Act. If there are documents that a president would like to keep after their presidency, there has to be a discussion with, the National Archives, the archivist, any department heads, depending upon what the document is and what department or departments the contents of the document affect or could affect. It's not, no president gets to just go, well, I'm going to keep this. That's not how it works. And something I think that we need to stop doing is making concessions and changing the rules for Donald Trump. Because, yes, for the people who support him, yay, your guy gets what he wants. But opening the door to letting him do it, and it being whatever, it opens the door to future presidents being allowed to do it. So if you think it's perfectly fine that Trump, for over a year and a half, kept boxes of documents, some classified, some top secret, some that shouldn't be seen outside of, a skiff, and you're cool with that, then you have to be cool with any president doing that. So, if 20 years from now it comes out that, Barack Obama, oops, we were moving boxes and I found this top secret document, didn't even realize we had it, well, then you're okay with that. Heck, you're okay with Clinton, and that's Bill Clinton, coming out, hey, I have boxes of documents and I'm not giving them up. Like, you have to be cool. It isn't just what's good for Trump and screw everybody else. It's what we allow Trump to get away with, then we have to allow everyone to get away with. And that's part of why people push back against Trump. in certain instances, because it's not cool for a president to do it, period, the end. And it's a door we want to leave closed. Having classified documents that aren't protected, that's a security risk for the country, depending upon what type of document it is. A president should know that and respect that. So for, Trump to go and run down and he does it every time. It starts with I didn't do it. Then, well, if I did do it, so what? To, yeah, I did it and I'm allowed to do it. And I'm just going to yell, holler, and scream until you just give up. And he takes those steps every single time. Now, to be fair, while I don't hate Trump, I don't hate anyone. I'm not giving anyone that power over me, because that's what hate is. It's you're spending your energy on someone else who they're living their life. They don't care. So I don't hate anyone. I don't like Trump. I haven't liked Trump for 30 years. I live in New Jersey. I've always lived in New Jersey. So I've heard about Trump for decades. Was I pleased that he jumped in the presidential race for 2016? No. Because being aware of who he is as a person for decades, he didn't have the personality to be a good president. And by that, I mean, over the decades, I've seen so many instances of Trump being for Trump, and that's all he cares about. And, it was interesting that when he jumped into the presidential ring, his speech changed. He used to be, pretty eloquent, and he spoke well. And then, he jumps into, and he was also pretty Democrat for decades. So to see him come out for a Republican, that was a little strange. But just the way that his speech changed, that he went from speaking, eloquently to just the trash talk and everyone, everything that he doesn't like. It's horrible. And to see him on debate stages interrupting, calling people names. Funny. All right, I can see where people would laugh. Like, oh my God, like this is so different from, normal, boring debates from, all the other years that they've been televised. Sure. But the thing is, we want our presidential debates and our vice presidential debates, anyone that's running for a big office and there's a debate, we don't want it to be a shit show, because name calling and interrupting, it's not what gets the job done. People watch debates because they want to learn about the candidates, learn about their policies, learn about what they're for, what they're against, what they'll promote if they're voted into office. It's not about giving people stupid nicknames and acting like a clown. Someone who is a president, like, you're the face of our country, and that should mean something. So you don't act like an ass. And hi to people just jumping in, landing on hearing that. That's not quite the great segue. But with this, with the classified documents case that is pending in DC, there are apparently audio recordings of Trump, admitting that he didn't declassify documents while he was in office. Documents in his possession. He's talked about in the town hall that he should be allowed to just share those documents. And, for the people that, he declassified. Yes, a sitting president can declassify almost all documents. If it has to do with, I think, like nuclear stuff cannot be declassified. I believe that's the only thing. Anything else, a sitting active president can be declassified, can declassify a document. Declassifying a document isn't just thinking that it's declassified. It isn't just moving the document from the White House to another location. It's not an automatic declassification type of thing. It's not the I Dream of Jeannie, like it's declassified. That's not how it works. President will say, I want this document declassified. And then depending upon what that document is, what's in it, what departments that document or the contents of the document affect, like, it goes through a process. It has to go past the archivist. It has to go past those departments. It's redacted. Declassified doesn't mean that every word on those pages is open to the public. It just doesn't mean that. So there's a redaction process. The document itself, like, it's, the folder that it's in, it's marked that it's declassified. It's not just, because I said so. That doesn't apply. Yes, he can declassify documents, but there's also a process that follows that. And then if that process is not followed, there's an issue. And in terms of just having the documents, shit happens. It wouldn't be unheard of for, a president to accidentally take documents, in packing stuff up and something just gets slipped in there. It happens. The issue is what comes after that. Once you found it, realize that, oh shit, I have a classified document. You have to return it. And especially when the National Archives is telling you, hey, we need that back. All those boxes, we need those back. If there's stuff you want to keep, it has to be looked at. It has to be, to see if there's anything that needs to be redacted, or, if they're documents that he just can't have, there's a process. And for a year and a half, he jerked the National Archives around to the point where they had to get a subpoena. Yeah, and some, may counter. Well, Joe Biden had documents from when he was vice president. Mike Pence had documents from when he was vice president that they found within, after the whole FBI going in to Mar-a-Lago. Yes, they did. And they immediately returned those documents. There wasn't any, it wasn't the same thing. There wasn't a subpoena that had been issued to either Joe Biden or Mike Pence to say, hey, give me back those documents. It was, there's all this mess about documents at Mar-a-Lago. So both Pence and Biden were like, maybe we should look or have somebody look. And they had people look. Oh, shoot, we have documents too. Oh, here, take them. They gave them back. They didn't have to be asked for them. They didn't have to be subpoenaed for them. They didn't try to dick around for a year and a half over, well, we should be allowed to keep those. We want those. They didn't do that. So in instances like that, you find that, the DOJ, they won't charge because the documents came back. There was no intent to retain it. There was no willful retention. And that's what Trump did, going over the 18 months of, well, I don't have them. Oh, well, okay, yeah, I have some, but, I think I should be able to keep those. So I'm going to keep those because I want to keep those. Yeah, and we may, because of the sensitivity of some of these documents, we may never know as the public the full extent of how sensitive the documents are. And in terms of, him talking about sharing the documents, depending upon the sensitivity, there's been reporting about one of the documents that is now, nobody knows where it is, but that it was a document on a potential U.S. attack on Iran, which is some of the most sensitive information. Where is that document? What was done with that document? The thought, because violations of the Espionage Act have been talked about in terms of what did former President Trump do with those documents that he had for those 18 months that he had them. What did he do with them? Did he show them to people that didn't have the clearance to view them? Did he sell the information in those documents? I mean, presidents aren't supposed to do that. And if there is actual evidence that he did something like that, and I hope that it's not there. I would hate to think that a president of the United States, current or former, would betray this country, because that's, whether you like him or not, if you give our secrets away to foreign countries, you've betrayed this country. And if you have betrayed this country, you sure as hell should never again be allowed to wear the title president because you don't deserve it. The president's supposed to love the country and all of the people in it, whether the people voted for that person or not. The president is for all of us. And Trump is making Revengeless. It's not appropriate for a president. It's just there's no other way around it. It's not appropriate. Yes, I am a Democrat. I would be saying the same thing if it came out right now, that Joe Biden had a revenge list. Absolutely not. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, that if any of them had a revenge list and actively took steps to punish people that disagreed with them. We have a duty as citizens to question our government, up to and including the President of the United States. It is one of our duties that we have for the privilege of being American citizens. Us Democrats, we get a bad rap. We get shit talked a lot. I love my country. Warts and all. I wouldn't be here if the ancestors, the founding fathers, the early government, if they didn't do the things that they did. So while those early governments, our early history, there's some horrible things. We've done a lot of great things too. I mean, if we could have done the things that we'd done without practically slaughtering every Native American, that would have been awesome. That would be better. But we can't change the fact that those things happened. Slavery. Yeah, horrible. There's no question that slavery is horrible. I know I wouldn't do well. I don't do well as it is when somebody tries to tell me that I can or can't do something. To that be my existence? No. So I mean, horrible things that this country went through. But I also know that on my father's side, I'm descended from men who served in the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War. Being in New Jersey, there were a lot of Revolutionary War battles fought in this state. I live near Trenton, not far from Washington's Crossing, where George Washington crossed the Delaware to fight the British. I've the food that we eat is grown from ground soaked with founding patriot blood. So, yes, I'm a Democrat, but I love my country. It's in my DNA to love this country. The rest of my ancestors are immigrants that came over around the turn of like 1908, 1909. I think one grandmother was like 1897. So I have both in my makeup. I have founding patriots that created this country and that were in this country like a century, almost a century before the, hi, Jody, almost a century before the Revolutionary War began. And then the rest are immigrants who came to this country for a better life. Don't tell me I don't love my country because I'm a Democrat. Being a Democrat, being liberal to me means that everyone has the same rights, whether I like that person or not, whether, it doesn't matter the color of your skin, your sex, sexual orientation, what God you pray to, none of that. It doesn't matter. If you are an American and I have a right to do something, you have that same right. No matter how different from me you are, whether I like the differences or not, you have that right. And so, I mean, that's what it is for me. And for me, a president should represent the best of us. I will give it to Trump that when he was president, he showed us where the cracks are in, the foundation, of our foundational documents and laws. And he gleefully pushed at boundaries. Some cases went way past the boundaries. But it's a good thing that we got to see those cracks, because then we could come in, through our representatives and the powers that be, and fix them so that the country doesn't get blown up, where the crack is fixed. I don't think that Trump has I didn't think it in 2016, and I don't think it now. He does not have the temperament to be president. I know I've seen videos where he has participated in events with foreign leaders where he's just elbowed people out of the way. You don't act like that as a president. A president should understand our Constitution and our laws and what departments do what. And he still doesn't. He talks a good game, but he still doesn't. I've made the statement. I actually did it in a short video recently, and I stand by it. Trump cares only about Trump. This is the only, when push comes to shove, he only cares about himself. He is using, he's not the only one. He's using the people that support him. Good people. People who are Trump supporters, MAGAs, which the labels. Don't we wear enough labels? The majority of those people are good, hardworking American people that They just want to be able to take care of themselves and the people who depend on them. That's who they are at their core. The rest of the Trump supporters, he's got white supremacist supporters. It's not my fault. Not every Trump supporter is a white supremacist, but it seems like every white supremacist is a Trump supporter. That should give people pause. That there are people who so viciously hate because they're afraid of people that are different. Yes, I said it. White supremacists are afraid of the people they hate. They are incapable of looking inward at themselves and maybe trying to find a better way to, gain the success that they want to gain, or to be able to do the things that they want to do for themselves and their family. It's let's blame other people. This country has always been a melting pot. And we are at our best when it's all those different people with different experiences, different knowledge. When we all come together and we share that knowledge and that experience and that wisdom, like it makes us better people. It makes us more, well-rounded. The more you know, the less there is to fear. And like that's where a lot of our fear comes from. It's just that we don't know. You have people. Where I grew up, we had one black family. And that's how it was until I went into junior high, which for where I live was 7th grade. Kindergarten through 6th was elementary, 7th and 8th was junior, 9 through 12 was senior or high school. So I wasn't around, a ton of black people. There was one black family. They're amazing people. But there are rural areas, and yeah, where I lived, it was rural for New Jersey. It is called the Garden State for a reason. But there are areas across the country where there's no black people, there's no Hispanic people, no Asian people. There aren't immigrants from, Africa, South America. It's all white people. And that's all that they know. And, in terms of their own everyday, experiences. And the only thing that they really know about people with more melanin in their skin is what they see on the news. And when all they're hearing is, that Mexicans are this and black people are this, where the media is, only showing the bad things. Because let's be real, like it doesn't matter the amount of melanin in a person's skin. That isn't going to determine whether or not you're a good person or whether or not you're going to go out and commit crimes. A president shouldn't be pushing those stereotypes, shouldn't be pushing those fears. Now it seems like it's gay and trans people are suddenly pedophiles. No. That's just the outrage of the day. It's the made up, oh, look over there, so that you don't see that we're not actually doing anything in Congress, whether it's federal or state. Look over there. Look at those groomers. Oh my God, there's a rainbow on something. The children. Stop it. And I'll give it to him. Even Trump has spoken recently about the this whole woke, what is woke? And if you can't define it with the real definition, then you don't get to bitch about it. Because it just means you're admitting that you don't know what it is. So how about you find out what it is? I've seen video of people complaining about their kids learning empathy in school. Empathy is a virtue. Who would complain about that? As if it's some, bad thing. I know I'm going off on a tangent. If anyone has any specifics on Trump that they would like to talk about, pop it in the comments. That's cool. And before I forget, everyone watching live does have the opportunity to actually join the conversation and actually be on screen with me. There is a link at the top of the episode description that says right next to where it says join the conversation. And if you follow that link and the prompts, your face will be on the screen right here next to mine. If you're not ready for your close-up, then in going through the prompts, you can turn there's a little camera icon that would be on your end that you can actually click that and it turns the camera off and then you're just audio. It's just your voice. So you don't have to type a comment. You can actually come in and be part of the conversation. Yes, I read the comments, but if you don't want to do it that way, you do have the option of coming in either both audio and visual or just audio and, sharing your thoughts. I've mentioned this before, and it's one of the reasons why I started this podcast is that, it just seems like there's a lot of people who have a story to tell and nobody's listening. And that's one of the reasons why I created this podcast, was to hear those stories from different people from different walks of life who, that are not to, go crazy with repetition, but who are different from me. It's okay to be different. I'm not going to sit here and dog someone for, liking Trump. I don't believe he's worthy. And if he is emails, where I think that they found that there were 3 emails that were marked classified out of 33,000 or however many. There's no indication. There's never been any indication that when she was Secretary of State, she shared those classified documents with anyone that she wasn't supposed to. Do I like the whole taking the hammer to the hard drive thing? No. Just take the hard drive out and give it to who needs to get it. You don't need to, it's not for you to destroy it. But if people are still screaming, lock her up, then they should certainly be screaming, lock him up. Because what he's doing is worse. She wasn't president. He was. And he should absolutely know better. When those boxes were being packed up, on January 6th, January 20th. January 20th. Sorry, I misspoke. And people saw classified marking, like as you're packing the boxes. Someone should have said, hey, we can't take these. But that didn't happen. So and he's been fighting to keep these documents. So it's whether they're classified or declassified, he doesn't get to keep them, and he's been fighting to keep them. So if there is a conviction on that, if there are charges that he violated, the Espionage Act, that he actually betrayed this country to a foreign whatever. I mean, innocent until proven guilty, would have to go through the courts. So if he is convicted on some type of violation of the Espionage Act, no, you don't get to be president. I don't care if every single person in the country votes for him. You betray this country, you don't get to run it. You don't get to be the leader of the free world. Because if he did it once, he's a cheater. He's cheated on all three of his wives. They cheat once, there's a really good likelihood they're going to do it again. So if he's convicted of betraying our country, he should not be rewarded with the title of president, because there's a really good chance that he'd do it again. And that isn't a risk that we as a country should be willing to take. I don't agree with a lot that the government does. At the same time, I do understand that there are things for the betterment of the country that go on behind closed doors. That it's national security stuff, and we're never going to know, or we're not going to know, until 100 years from now. We're never going to know. If the New York with the business records, do I care about that? Not really. Is it a good look for someone who's a president? Nope. You're lying on, financial forms. No one should be doing that. If that was the only thing, yeah, of course, run its court, run through the courts, do what you're going to do, because people that break the law should be held accountable, whether we like them or not. When a person's popularity, how do I want to word this? We bitch about how there's, different tiers of justice in the country between, rich and not rich. And that is true. You're going to get a better lawyer paying $400 or $500 an hour for that lawyer than you would with a public defender who's probably not even making 50 grand a year. And has way more cases, and just doesn't have the time to do everything that they could do, that an attorney getting paid $500 an hour can do, or more an hour. So yes, there are different tiers of justice, but that doesn't mean we take it without complaint or, try to change it. It doesn't mean that when a rich person breaks the law that they get a pass and that the only people that have to pay are the ones that don't have money. No. And I would be saying this, like, I don't care about the political party of the person who broke the law. I don't care. You break the law, you pay the price. Period. The end. And like, I haven't commented or done any type of shorts video on the whole the FD 1023 FBI document, with Joe Biden and Hunter and James and LLCs and all that sort of thing. I haven't addressed that yet because nobody's put forth anything showing that anything was actually done wrong. American citizens are allowed to create businesses, and they are allowed to engage in business with foreign businesses. We do it all the time. I mean, car dealerships for foreign cars. They're foreign. So just having a bunch of LLCs, well, definitely sus. That alone isn't proof that anyone did anything illegal. And so far, I haven't seen, I've heard conjecture. I've heard, certain Republicans like Comer and, like people that are Jordan that want there to be crimes, but they haven't put anything up yet showing that there has actually been a crime committed by Hunter Biden, private citizen. Is he a complicated person? Sure. I don't care about Hunter Biden's drug use, hiring entertainment, or using his dad's name to make a buck. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And he's a private citizen. He's never been in government. If he was in government, an elected official, yes, I would care more. Private citizen? That's like me and you. I don't care if you want to hire some entertainment for the evening, as long as everybody's consenting adults, have a good time. Who cares? Oh, maybe he has a gun that's not registered, or that possibly he didn't obtain legally. That is not national news. That, as a parent, thankfully my kid, I wish he would get in trouble a little bit. He certainly doesn't pull off the things that his mom did when she was, his age. But I mean, Hunter Biden's a private citizen. And so far, there hasn't been anything presented that shows that Joe Biden knew anything, had anything to do with any of these LLCs. There's nothing that's been put up saying that, or showing where, hey, this X amount of money went to Joe Biden and, 3 days later, he pushed for this policy. I mean, he was vice president. He couldn't write laws. The only thing that he could, maybe talk to Obama about doing an executive order on something, or being the deciding vote in the Senate. So, if there is actual evidence presented that Joe Biden did take bribes or whatever else when he was vice president, by all means, charge him. And, and then I'll talk about it at that point. I don't like to deal in speculation, because that's where a lot of things get messed up, where, things are they're made up. And, I've said it at the top of the show that this is my opinion, my opinion on Donald Trump, who I do not hate. I don't like. That's been for decades, because I'm in New Jersey. I mean, I saw where he put mom and pop businesses out of business simply because he could. If you search his name in, New Jersey court databases, especially Atlantic County, where Atlantic City is, up in North Jersey, or Manhattan. If you look in those court records, you're going to see a lot of cases where Donald Trump is the defendant for breach of contract. And you're going to see a lot of them where they were settled and an NDA filed, a non-disclosure agreement, because that's what he does. That's the MO. It's with his business. They hire someone to do work, and they'll probably, pay some for like labor or materials. But at some point, when the contractor is owed a good buck, that's when all of a sudden that Donald Trump will turn around and go, you know what, you're doing a shitty job. I need to bring somebody else in to fix what you screwed up. And no, I'm not paying you for any of the work you did. And then they bring somebody else in and they do the same thing. And they're mom and pop, they're small businesses. Businesses that are excited about, oh my God, we got a contract with Trump. This is going to put us on the map. We're going to get so many new customers from this. We're going to be able to expand. We're going to be able to hire more people, finally take a family vacation, do all these things. All the hours and the sweat and the blood and the tears put into this small business, now they're finally going to pay off. And he dick them to where they end up having to go out of business. Because those settlements, those companies aren't getting the full amount that's owed to them. They're getting pennies on the dollar, and maybe they can, pay off some of their vendors, where they got their the materials from, but they certainly can't pay off all their vendors in full, plus pay wages for the people that they had come in that were either regular employees or subcontractors. And they've got nothing left. And he did that multiple times. So no, I don't like Donald Trump, because a lot of my friends and a lot of people I consider family are hardworking blue collar people, many of whom have their own small contracting business or landscaping or, electric, HVAC, these small companies, and they're good people that work hard. And I'm just happy that none of them ever worked with Trump, because they'd be destroyed. For all that Trump talks about wanting to drain the swamp and, the elites, he's an elite. I actually looked it up today, and there are varying reports. Because I think in response to one of the shorts that I did, somebody had commented about, Trump's awesome. He donated his salary when he was president to, different charities. Okay. But what I looked up was that for the 4 years that Trump was president, his estimated revenue from his properties that he owns, licensing, other stuff, selling his Donald Trump memorabilia, selling real estate through the businesses, he brought in, and the reporting is varied, but these are the two numbers that I'm seeing the most. He brought in, over those 4 years, between $1.6 billion and $2.4 billion. Seriously? Like, I mean, yay, great for him. At the same time, presidents aren't supposed to. It's like the emoluments clause. His daughter Ivanka, who was a White House advisor, got a shit ton of patents from China. Like, everybody talks about, like, oh, Joe Biden, China, blah, blah, blah. Like, a lot of her stuff is made in China. Trump stuff is made in China. There are a lot of products that we buy as citizens that are made in China. So, before we throw stones, how about look at the glass house we live in. His son-in-law, right when the presidency ended, Jared gets $2 billion from the Saudis. Jared was also a White House advisor working in the White House. If Junior or Eric or Tiffany, if they made money while he was president, I don't care. They weren't working in the White House. If Ivanka and Jared were. And, people are bitching, oh my God, Hunter Biden, made like $10 million. And if he did something illegal in making that $10 million, arrest him. But how are we going to look at Hunter over $10 million? But we aren't going to look at, and that's private citizen Hunter. And we aren't going to look at Ivanka and Jared, who were White House advisors, working in the White House, supposed to be working for the American people. And it's just a fairness thing. When there is actual evidence, then that's when I like to give my opinions. Once there is actual evidence, not, oh, I think or I thought. I don't like, for all of the Trump supporters that are blue collar people, or poor people. And it's okay to be poor. People that they're being nickeled and dimed for hats and t-shirts and bumper stickers. And, and then these same people are like, oh, like I can't afford, X, Y, and Z. How many donation emails do you have to receive? Like if Trump brought in between, with his companies, brought in between 1.6 to 2.4 billion dollars, why is he asking anyone for money? I mean, when Michael Bloomberg ran in for the 2016 election, billionaire, he didn't ask people for money. If you've got the money, why are you nickeling and diming people repeatedly? Oh, the witch hunts. Send me $14 so I can pay my attorneys. No. It's a ridiculous ask. And I get the allure of having someone who isn't a politician as president. I mean, hell, we had an actor. And for the youngins, that's Ronald Reagan. Especially somebody when they put themselves out there as that they are this, successful businessman. Successful in the sense that he's conned a bunch of people out of their money, and he conned banks into giving him money. Sure. But successful meaning good business? No, he's not a good businessman. I mean, yeah, he's putting money in his pocket. But if you look at his businesses, many of them have failed. He failed at running a casino. A casino. How do you do that? That's one of the, like, the house always wins. So if you're, if you can't keep a casino afloat, that right there is 100% proof that you are not a good businessman. And the different businesses that he's run that were later found out to be frauds. Like the snake oil salesman that becomes a millionaire for scamming a bunch of people, we don't celebrate that. That's a scammer. And the same thing applies to Trump. He's great at the grift. But at the end of the day, he's a con man. And one of the things that I want to learn through the course of this podcast or just life is why his supporters take it personally. Like if you're like, oh, I'm not voting for Trump, it's like you punch them in the face. And I don't understand that. Because if somebody says to me, I'm not voting for a Democratic candidate, okay, you have the right to vote for whomever you want to. That's not my choice. It's not my business. But when it's a Trump supporter, you sit there and you go like, like I can't wait to see how much I'm going to get cussed out in comments on this video. Because it's the Marxist, socialist, commie, Democrat. It's the name calling. Which, like, just because somebody doesn't want to vote for Trump doesn't make you a bad person. It's that person, you aren't being attacked. There are people that, I mean, and who knows if they were serious, but who've said that they want Trump to be an authoritarian. They don't want Trump to be president. They want him to be an authoritarian. Like Russia, like China, like North Korea, like some Middle Eastern countries, like some African countries, like authoritarian. That should give people pause. Like, wait a minute, we're getting a little too far off track. I mean, I don't want any authoritarian running this country. That's not who we are. I still believe in the grand experiment called the United States, and our form of government. But I think there's a lot of corruption. There's just a lot of nonsense that, I think we, the people, need to step it up and start demanding more and demanding positive change. Don't fall for the nonsense. Don't fall for the the outrage du jour, because it's just a distraction. And don't believe everything you hear, everything you read. Look at things. Research them. And by research, I do not mean go on YouTube and listen to somebody else. Or go on TikTok or Instagram or wherever on the internet. Find people you can trust. If there's something you don't understand, which it's okay. Again, that doesn't make you a bad person either. And knowledge is power. Find someone you can trust to explain things to you. Somebody that isn't trying to take your money, or use you. This is our first episode into Trump. I'm sure there will be others, depending upon how the DC case, the New York case, the Georgia case, depending upon how they go, depending upon how, the Republican primary race goes. But I wanted to, bite the bullet per se, and just jump in. And there's no better place to start than with just why I don't feel that he's worthy of being president. And yes, we will have episodes talking about, the Democrat side. This isn't, conservative bashing. If you're a conservative, that's great. It's okay. You're allowed to be conservative. There are topics where I'm conservative as well. Just more of them where I'm liberal. And there's nothing wrong with that either. So I would like to thank everyone that has popped in. Please, before you leave, hit like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. If you'd like to help support the channel, there are links in the description as well. I thank you for joining us. I thank you for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I will see everyone our next live stream, unless there's an indictment between now and like Friday night. We're looking at the next episode, which will be like a weekly recap of the ridiculousness that we just talked about. Anything goes. That will be Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So have a wonderful evening, and thanks again for joining.